a question for you. How often have you said to yourself, there is so much conflict in the world, I wish we could just get along and live at peace? Well, listen up, because Jim Halderman was one of, in addition to what you see up here, I want to share with you that he was one of 26 in the US and Canada in the Peace Activator program with Rotary International and the Institute for Economics and Peace. It's my privilege to introduce my friend and chair of our District Peace Committee, Jim Halderman.
Thank you, Randy, very much. The winning hand, 369, was today, but there's another. Peace is a numbers game, and Rotary has the winning hand. That hand is made up of 2, 4, 7, and 8. When speaking of peace, we're referring to a sense of security, safety, and hope, which is Maslow's second hierarchy of need, our number 2. This will occur when Rotary combines 4, 7, and 8, referring to the 4-way test, 7 areas of focus, and the 8 pillars of peace. Let me explain. I believe we are all at the tipping point, as Malcolm Gladwell would say, of nation states finding alternatives to war as a means of settling conflict. Today, there are thousands of organizations working towards peace that did not exist 20 years ago. But I want to share how I sincerely believe Rotary can be that tipping point. We're all looking for a sense of security, to feel safe in one's own room, one's own environment, whether it's a self or it's a community, whether it's at a Rotary meeting, a church, a school, or a state. And to feel secure requires hope for a safer, better future. On Maslow's hierarchy of needs, the desire for security is number 2, following our basic needs of food and shelter. So what brings us security? Robert Gates, Secretary of Defense under George W. Bush in 2007, gave a speech in Kansas State University. In that speech, he made the comment, "I am here to make the case for strengthening our capacity for soft power." Soft power? What is it? Will I feel secure with soft power? Soft power, simply put, is everything but guns. Soft power is not soft or easy. It is the gathering. It is not the gathering to sing Kumbaya. It is the hard yet concrete action that individuals and nations take to resolve differences peacefully. In that same speech, Robert Gates went on to say, "What is clear to me is that there is a need for dramatic increase in spending on civilian instruments of national security like diplomacy and communication." Later at the meeting of the United Nations just this past year, there were repeated mention of the need to take action to pursue projects, programs, and policies that address the underlying causes of conflicts, including poverty, inequality, ethnic tensions, lack of access to education, and unequal distribution of resources. Doesn't this sound like the 7 areas of focus? In his talk, Robert Gates implored for an increased budget for peaceful means other than military. He knew that he would not be popular when he got back home, but at that point, he was speaking from his heart. After all, our nation spends 80 times on hard power versus soft power, yet he knew soft power is what makes the difference. Recently, the Rotary magazine listed some books supposedly promoting peace. such as why we fight. After reading this one and so many prior on the whys of war, I am left with an empty feeling. Our focus is misplaced with such material. All of the understanding of why we fight has never done anything for our security. As Steve Killalea, who is the founder of the Institute for Economics and Peace, said, "To understand health, let's study the people that are healthy." I now know it is time to stop asking why we fight, why we go to war, and ask what are the alternatives. There are several myths about war. It's inevitable, it's necessary, and so on. But the primary concern when speaking of keeping the peace is the need for security. Whether we're speaking of individuals, groups, countries, we need to feel secure, secure from hate and violence in any form, from any direction. Hate, after all, is grounded in fear. Fear leads to hate. Hate leads to anger. Anger leads to violence. Working in anger management for courts and prisons over 25 years, I've heard hundreds of reasons of why we fight, yet they all come down to our inability to deal with conflict in a positive manner. No different for our nation. Whether an individual or a nation, we must ask, is it the truth? Is it fair? Will it build goodwill? And is it beneficial to all? So what really brings us security? Here is where Rotary comes in. Rotary has the tools, the attitude, and the commitment to change the world. The antidote to hate is love, and Rotary now has the tools to build that from the bottom to the top, from individual relationships to relationships of countries, as in all Rotary projects. Rotarians can be the civilian instrument that Robert Gates talked about. In 2017, the Rotary International signed a MOU, a Memorandum of Understanding, with the Institute for Economics and Peace, or known as IEP. IEP offers tremendous additional tools in our quest for peace. Steve Killalea, the founder, wanted to know what is common among peaceful nations. His research came up with the 8 commonalities of the peaceful nations, known today as the 8 pillars of peace. Here is how they relate to Rotary and the 4-way test. The first pillar of a peaceful nation is a well-functioning government. We can laugh about that or not. But number one, we need a well-functioning government which needs to be based on truth. Is it the truth? The second, equal distribution of resources. Is it fair to all concerned? Free flow of information is the third pillar of peace, which requires truth and fairness to all concerned. Good relations with neighbors, whether it's next door, whether it's in the room, whether it's your next state, will it build goodwill and better friendship? Number 5 is the high levels of human capital, referring to the education and skill set of the individuals. Will it be beneficial to all concerned? Number 6 is the acceptance of rights of others. Will it build goodwill and better friendship? Number 7 is low levels of corruption. And again, is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Number 8 of the pillars is good business environment. And good business environment talks about being beneficial to all concerned. These 8 pillars follow perfectly with Rotary's core values, the 4-way test, the 7 areas of focus. In addition, IEP speaks of the attitudes, institutions, and structures being key ingredients to a system for peace, what IEP refers to as positive peace. The attitudes refers, again, how you feel about your government, don't laugh, and your sense of security. Institutions are those organizations that faith-based and other organizations that work towards peace, like Rotary. In all our work Rotarians do, locally or globally, we should overlay the 8 pillars as a guide to understand the effects of what we are doing and to maximize the benefits. The pillars are systemic thinking, how one aspect affects the entire environment. The pillars, no one activity is a standalone event. How we are affecting the entire environment, how can we influence for peace? You must ask yourself, do you truly believe peace is possible? What is your sense of security? What can you do to create a more peaceful world? If you have any uncertainty, what you can do, if you have any uncertainty or doubt in your mind's peace is possible, use the tools that Rotary makes possible, available as a place to begin to understand and what is available to us. You must start with the knowing that peace is possible. Reality follows belief. In times past, you might have heard yourself say, I will believe it when I see it. But the reality is the opposite. I will see it when I believe it. With the understanding of the brain, we now know belief comes first. Belief determines our action. Our action determines reality. Our actions of today create the future of tomorrow. So it is not enough for the guns to be quiet. It takes the actions of the Rotarians doing the projects we have always done, only now with the emphasis on peace, using the guidelines of IEP and applying the 4-way test. Peace does not happen by itself. It comes from a single action each one of us takes. The concept of peace building sounds daunting. The tools Rotary makes available on your table will give many of the beginning simple steps. Like eating the elephant, we eat it one bite at a time. Change comes first from within. We think differently, learn new ideas. Then we take the action towards creating the peace. Peace does not happen to us, it happens by us. It is critical to our planet and to all of us that we find a more peaceful way to deal with our challenges. We must find personal security in a more positive manner, whether we are dealing with climate change, environmental issues, war, or immigration. These are international problems that we cannot handle alone. We must work together, and that requires peace. Great periods of peace and cooperation are responsible for more advancements of society. As Richard Florida pointed out in the book, The Rise of the Creative Class, communities and states with more diverse opinions, open acceptance, and cooperations are economically more successful. No different for the world. More cooperation, more economics. Many have asked about the name of the Institute for Economics and Peace. Very simply, Steve Kilalia, the founder, recognized that peace and good economics occur together as one. Richard Boucher, who spent 32 years in the U.S. Foreign Service, noted in a recent talk, common ground is far more powerful than military power. Focusing on human needs and having a reverence for life are the foundations for human security. But along with a sense of security must come hope. A hope that implies to you the possibility of a more peaceful future. Hope is not a passive exercise. It is not a plan in wishing. but an active approach to life. Hope is a belief that you can make a difference. Your action does matter. In this regard, you've already taken the first step by joining Rotary. As a Rotarian, you have the access to a large volume of knowledge to create peace through the numerous activities and projects. Your water projects, your education project, eliminating polio, all brings peace and can be made more powerful with the tools of IEP. Know that all your actions, locally, globally, or with youth, work to build hope, to build peace. After all, in all our dreams, it is our individual actions toward a goal that creates hope. Let's make the goal peace. Hope cannot exist without a belief, without a vision. Or here's another way to explain it. Two friends, John and Paul, started working together at an early age laying railroad track. 25 years later, John, who had become president of the company, was out inspecting installations. And he came across his old friend, Paul, as he was still laying track. And after a brief conversation, Paul asked, "Why am I still laying track and you're now the president of the company?" And John simply said, "While you were laying railroad track, I was building a railroad." What is your vision for the future? As our current Rotary International president, Gordon McNally, wrote in July's Rotary magazine, peace isn't a dream and it's not passive. It's the result of working hard, earning trust, and having open conversations that may be difficult. Peace must be waged persistently and bravely. Everything we do across our areas of focus has the potential to foster the hope that can make peace possible. Yes, peace begins with you, with me. Our words, our actions, all should be of peace. Study the materials. Learn that peace can be the way. Again, Rotary shines by speaking, by acting, and by living the four-way test. Seek the truth. Be more accepting. Ask more questions. Show more empathy. Rotary can be the tipping point. When major change comes from people, governments will follow. The people making the changes will be Rotarians. Our security comes from Rotarians bringing hope to the world. I'm intrigued that this year's theme by our President Gordon McNally is bringing hope to the world, create hope to the world. But let's add last year's theme. And you have Imagine Rotary creating hope in the world. And 2, 4, 7, and 8, Rotary has the winning hand, as you do. Thank you. I am open to any questions.
Thank you for, thank you for your presentation, very important presentation. I'm curious if you know what percentage of world leaders might be Rotarians?
Yes, very definitely. We have 1.2 million Rotarian world leaders. We have many in high office. Peter Kyle, who used to be the head of our Peace Fellow program, also was with the World Bank for many, many years. Our Peace Fellows are a more phenomenal story, working with ambassadors, working with congressmen to give advice and counsel, and are working around the world to bring. But again, Rotary has over 1.2 million leaders, no doubt.
Hello. Just sort of more sort of down to earth type question. You know, if you assume that it isn't the people of Russia that wanted to go to war with Ukraine, but a few of the leaders of Russia, how important is it to speak directly to the people of Russia, and do you know anything of what is happening on that front?
Can you repeat that one more time, a little succinct? I'm sorry.
If we are to assume that it's not really the people of Russia that want to go to war with Ukraine, but a few of the leaders of Russia that wanted to go to war with Ukraine for their own purposes, how important is it to have a conversation directly with the Russian people, over the heads of the government if necessary? And if that is important, what do you know is happening in that direction?
There's considerable action going in that area. How helpful will it be to speak with the Russian people, the Russian people, and of course it'll be very, very helpful. Again, the people will change. There is a lot of chatter that there may be some major changes going on inside of Russia, hopefully not before too terribly long. And again, it is people that will take the action. The more that we can communicate with them, Putin has done everything he can to make it very, very difficult. But the more we can work with the people of Russia, obviously the better it would be. Good question.
Yeah, I believe the first one to advocate soft power was Cicero back in the 1st century BC. He said we shouldn't extend the empire with military might, but rather we should convince people that they want to join our empire. So my question, and his reward was assassination. So I don't want to go back that far, but I'd like to know, if you went back, say, even 25 years, are there reasons that you are more or less hopeful about the possibility of settling differences without military action? More or less sanguine than you were, say, at the beginning of the century?
Are we more or less sanguine than in the last 25 years? And are we more hopeful? Quite frankly, I am more hopeful. We see a lot of this stuff. One of the challenges is we tend to live too much in the news, and we begin to believe the news. How can we make the news more? Bottom line is there is an awfully lot of good going on. We have forgotten that the EU, that Europe used to go to war amongst themselves on a regular basis. They have not for 75 years. All of the South American states have signed an agreement to never go to war with one another. There's a lot of good going on. It's very difficult to find that to focus on, but where is our focus? Where is our attention? There is a tremendous amount of good. Keeping in mind also, when you begin to corner cats, get them into a corner, they fight very hard. And some of that is also what we are seeing today. The arc of good is large but real. So let's hope that the arc continues in a positive manner. I, quite frankly, am positive that the arc is heading towards justice.
We have a question from one of our online participants, Lynn Siegel. How do we apply these principles to Azerbaijan and Armenia?
How do we find principles for?
The principles that you've set forth.
My phone number is 303-564-3315. Be more than happy to share. On the table is a sheet of a lot of little vignettes, little videos, little sayings that are very powerful that introduce you, and they are a good start. Perhaps they can be sent out to the club electronically.
Yeah,
Hey, let me go one step further.
Oh, sure.
One step further, because in reality in life, whatever we want to find, when we get up in the morning, and if we would say to ourselves, I want to learn more about peace, it is absolutely amazing what suddenly will come into you that you will begin to see differently. So part of it is that attitude, I want to begin to see peace.
Yeah, I have always looked forward to the UN getting to a peaceful world. And I've been disappointed that they haven't done anything about censuring Russia about this war. Just like to have your feelings about what's really going on within the UN.
They only gave me 3 hours for this talk, sir. I would love to spend more with you on that. The challenges of the UN are immense. And of 7 leaders having unanimous and total view of the world, and there's a lot of challenges in the UN. By the same token, where is our focus? Let's look at what the UN has brought to us. We don't see that in the press often enough. But stop and think, we have brought 160 some world leaders together from all kinds of backgrounds, all kinds of views, sitting together. That, number one, is remarkable. A lot of feeding programs, a lot of educational programs, a lot of phenomenal things, a lot of opportunities to sit and talk. There have been tremendous things that have occurred from the UN. The UN needs some major, major overhauls. It's going to be a challenge. Some level of world governance, I think, ultimately will be essential. Is it the UN? I don't know. Maybe it's strengthening the ICC and the International Court of Justice, some of those organizations. But we do need to strengthen. We also need to believe and follow and act upon the treaties when we make them. Basic integrity, basic human integrity must come into play. The UN is a phenomenal organization, needs a lot of help, needs a lot of repair.
Do we have any more questions in the room? I'm going to squeeze.
Got one.
Great, you're all set.
And now I get responded?
Yes, thank you.
Well, since you put it that way, I'd like to welcome you as an adjunct member of the fine collection of gyms here at Boulder Rotary Club. I think about 4 or 5, yeah. And on behalf of the Boulder Rotary Club, thank you for your presentation and your sharing a good many thoughts about peace and conflict and a different way of looking at such things, a broader perspective and a deeper understanding, and making the immediate connection between peace and conflict thinking and the 4-way test components, elements, which clearly, way back when, the people who put Rotary into reality were thinking about peace and conflict in the Genesis. So you very well put those elements and explanations together. And in honor of that, in your honor, the Boulder Rotary Club is pleased to contribute 100 doses of vaccine to the Polio Plus Fund. After 35 years of arduous work, Rotary and its partners are on the brink of eradicating this tenacious disease. But a strong push is needed to root it out once and for all. It's conceivable for polio to be eradicated in the next few years. It's a window of opportunity of historic proportions, and as we move forward with the polio endgame strategy. If we all have the fortitude to see this effort through to the end, then we will eradicate polio. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Our Unfortunately, the book club meeting on October 9th has been canceled. But don't worry, you'll still get to read a book for January 8th, where we're going to have our next Boulder Rotary Club book club. The book is to be announced, so stay tuned to the Brew and the Rib for more details. But no book club this coming week. You're just going to have to talk to yourself about it. If you're looking for an opportunity to be outside and do some good, then we have just the project for you. On Saturday, October 7th, from 9 a.m. to 12 noon, Boulder Rotary and the Play Boulder Foundation will plant at least 8 trees as part of the Marshall Fire Victims Tree Planting. Meet at the Ascent Community Church parking lot, 550 McCassin Boulevard in Louisville. Be sure to dress appropriately for the weather, wear closed-toed shoes, and bring a shovel and gloves if you have them. Call Kathy Olivier to volunteer with her phone number up on the screen. Thank you to the Preserve Planet Earth and the BRC Pop-Ups committees for co-sponsoring this planting. Hope to see you there. Okay, this week's Rotarian on the Street is with past president Marty Evans. So this week's question, why is drowsiness listed as one of the side effects of sleeping pills?
Because drowsiness, why would you take sleeping pills when you could take melatonin or just have a scotch and soda and go to sleep and not worry about it?
So you're recommending alcohol instead of the sleeping pills. Is that what I'm
No,
hearing?
I don't think that's
No,
right.
that's what I'm hearing.
No,
That's what I'm hearing.
I don't think that's appropriate in Rotary. No,
Okay,
we
then
don't-
what are you recommending if drowsiness is one of the side effects of sleeping pills?
Don't take a sleeping pill and stay awake.
Okay, you
Or
heard
read
it.
a book or
Re-
write.
Okay, read a book or write. Okay, we
Yes.
got it.
Oh, yes.
All right.
That'd be much, much better.
Okay, good deal, Marty Evans.
Economic sanctions have been a tool nations use to influence the behavior of other nations since World War I, when European countries began the practice to try and prevent war. Recently, we've heard a lot about economic sanctions against Russia. Are these sanctions working? Who's paying the price? And where are all those confiscated yachts docked? Next week, CU Professor Emeritus Keith Maskus will be here to tell us.
This is Carl Kurtz. We want you to have a great weekend.